Hi, I'm Vanessa Stoikov and welcome back to the Secrets of the Money Masters. Today I'm visiting Olympic swim champion Michael Klim and I'm in the offices of his successful skincare company Milk & Co. Michael's been a success both in the pool and in business, but his life's changing. His kids are growing up and he wants to know what risks may lay ahead so he can be ready. So I'm going to be bringing in my money masters and financial coaches to help Michael navigate choppy waters. I'm here today to diagnose Michael on what he needs to unlearn when it comes to preparing himself for the future and protecting his family financially. I'll be assigning him his very own money master from AIA Australia, as well as his own financial advisor to help him get the process underway.
My parents are Polish migrants. I was born in Poland, in Gdynia, and through my dad's travels, he was looking for the perfect place to bring up the family, and I arrived in Australia when I was 11 years of age in 1989. At that point, I started calling Australia home. I found my passion and my purpose in sport very early on. I probably learned to swim around the same time I was learning to walk. Swimming was something that stuck with me as a lot of these different things changed, from languages to countries to schools, and it kind of became the constant in my life. And when I arrived in Australia, I was 11 and I was better than some of the other kids at my age, and it was probably in my early teens. And swimming really took off. To be honest, I never really had a job. I think Mum and Dad got me to be an usher at a theatre once or twice, and it was in a Polish theatre actually, so I didn't really have a job. I was always focused on swimming. I never went on school camp. For me, swimming was my entire life. I was always a successful junior in the sport, and I was winning school meets and then state championships. But it was probably at the age of sort of 15, 16 when I was tapped on the shoulder by a couple of scouts and coaches for me to move to Canberra at the age of 16. And when the best coaches in the world and the governing body and everyone shows faith in you, that was kind of the point where I thought, okay, I've got to make the most of this and see how far I can go. Because I've had that affinity with the sport from an early age, and I had success at the ultimate level in front of the home crowd here in Sydney in 2000, and to have had that moment and standing on the dais and winning not only for all the public but the swimming team and my teammates it's relief and it's adulation. And it's probably only in the last few years on the reflection you realise that these accomplishments actually not only mean a lot to me, they mean a lot to my kids and my family and people around me as well.
It's now time for me to meet with Michael to find out about his mindset when it comes to money, especially how to protect it. And then I'll help him get on his journey to transforming his finances. Michael, I'm so pleased you came on the show, but tell me what ran through your mind when they said to you, hey, do you want to go on this money makeover show?
To be honest, it's actually something that's been on my mind for a while, and just hit my 40s, and I've just felt it's probably time for me to actually make a priority of this.
And look, I'm intrigued because I'm sitting here in what is your skincare company. We all know you for swimming. I've learnt a lot. This is quite a big business you've built. How did you transition from swimming into business? Because that's not an easy transition.
Yeah, definitely, and especially into skincare and beauty. It's something that obviously they don't teach you that while you're swimming up and down the pool. But I think my pillars that I've had, my key learnings in sport, which was building the right team around me, getting knowledge within the industry, evolving constantly, finding that passion and the purpose that I had in the pool. So those things that I kind of translated back into business have really worked well, and we've been going for over a decade now and expanded into 16 different countries, and it's been a quite interesting journey.
And if I was to ask you to complete the sentence, my relationship with money is, how would you complete that sentence?
Pretty easygoing.
Yeah, okay.
Is that not good?
No, that's very Australian actually, so that's okay. Michael hasn't always been on the front foot when it comes to his finances. So I'm pretty sure it's focus that he'll need to unlearn in order to succeed.
I had a very small understanding of finances in general. I couldn't read a P&L or a balance sheet, and cash flow, sort of
Pretty
that.
normal.
Very normal. And obviously because I didn't have any sort of education in that field, and a lot of decisions were made on gut and intuition and kind of top line ideas.
You strike me as a bit of a risk taker because no one who starts their own business isn't a risk taker. You have to.
I think I'm a risk taker in different areas. I think definitely a risk taker in business in the sense of put it all on the line, but probably in some of the finance areas, I'm definitely not a risk taker.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would you say that?
I don't dabble in shares. I don't have any insight in that area. If it is, it's a small amount that it's more of a, more a bit of a play rather than.
Well, that's like most Australians though. Like property, I bet. You've had a mortgage.
Yeah. So did a couple developments with my dad, one solo. So that was probably the most risky thing that I did as well.
Although Michael may not have been a big risk taker when it comes to spending his money, at this stage of his life, he needs to pay more attention to risk in general when it comes to protecting his family and his wealth.
Well, I'm going to bring you your own financial planner. I know you've talked to Brad already on the phone and he's got a good handle on your financial situation and something he's really looking at with you is risk and insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, that is a bit of a process that I think a lot of people avoid because you do have to think about when you're gone then.
Yeah, absolutely. And, from income insurance to health insurance, all those different, varieties that, and I'm, as I said to you, I'm not great at probably the attention to detail and those sort of things. So it's obviously something that I have to pay attention to, and it would be great to get Brad's advice and knowledge into that area.
That's what financial planners live for.
Yeah.
Weirdly born to love it. So he's going to get you sorted. So when I come back, I'll bring Brad with me.
Okay.
And he'll run through a bit more of the game plan with you.
I'm having Michael read my book and take the quiz on my website to see which pillar he most needs to unlearn in order to move ahead. As I first suspected, Michael's biggest pillar is focus, and I'll be able to brief his financial advisor and his money master. Today, we're putting Michael Klim's money plan under the microscope. And to figure out if he can meet his home ownership and retirement goals, we're speaking to Eliza Owen, who's a research analyst at Domain, and my ongoing expert, Debbie Blakey from Hester. Okay, Debbie, can he pull it off? He's already in his 40s. Can Michael really retire at 60 and do all the other things he wants to do with his money?
Well, the later you start in life, obviously it's a little bit harder. So, the earlier you start in terms of home ownership and saving for retirement, the easier it is. So it will be harder. But Michael has certainly shown, firstly with a sporting career, but also with his business, that he can have incredible focus and discipline. So I'm sure he could do it, but he's going to have to work at it.
Yeah, look, he strikes me as the kind of character that doesn't mind a bit of hard work.
Yeah.
And if you follow him on Instagram, he's pumping iron in the gym every day, so he is working hard. And look, he wants to buy property in Sydney. Eliza from Domain, tell me, do you think, the Sydney market's gone down? Like, people are starting to get worried. Do you think Sydney's still a good investment?
I mean, the Sydney market is down. The houses are down 15% from their peak in 2017. Units are down about 10% in value. But over the long term, Sydney properties have delivered pretty well. So our stratified median price series goes back about 26 years. And over that time, we've seen the value of houses demonstrate annualised returns of about 6.6%. In units, it's about 6%. So quite good returns. But I think I agree with Debbie. The longer you're sort of holding on to an asset, the easier it can be to realise better returns. But I think, housing has other benefits, like the fact that you can insulate yourself from rental costs in retirement, and also that it's kind of more of a forced savings asset because it's less liquid. So there can be benefits to that as well.
Oh, and you make a good point that, when you're retired, you really don't want to be carrying rent costs. Michael wants to retire at 60. He's already 40. Should he be focused more on his super, Debbie, or should he actually go for this property because he can live in it in retirement, possibly?
I think that's actually a really tough one because the answer is you probably need to do both and you need to find a way to balance both. And of course, super, it's very tax effective in terms of the concessional tax treatment. So it would be sad to miss out on super for a very long period of time. And it's important to remember, you know, if people are employed, they get that 9.5% super. So they have that safety net of a minimum amount going into super. But when you're self-employed, you don't get that.
That's right. So he'll have to put that in himself.
You have to think about that, and it would be, you know, it's important to try and take advantage of the tax effectiveness of super. So I really think he needs to do both.
Okay, look, he's at that time of life, and Eliza, you'll get there, I'm certainly there, where he wants his 3 kids to go to private school. He's building his business still, and he's hustling. I mean, he's a worker. He's an admirable person, actually. He's great energy to be around, and then he wants to retire early. I mean, is it realistic to want to retire at 60 now? Because, you know, everything you read is, and I don't mean to depress you, but, you know, I'm 46, going to be working till at least 70. I don't know what millennials are going to be working to. You guys will be like propped up in your wheelchairs still going. But, you know, do you think it's realistic?
I think if it's important to him, it's worth having it as a goal. And, you know, that's what's really important in terms of how we think about money and what our personal goals are. They're very personal. And even owning a property, you know, if it's important to somebody to want to own their own property, that's a very personal decision. So, you know, whether it's realistic or not, I think time will tell. But, you know, to have that as a goal and work towards it, what's probably important through life is to be able to recalibrate your goals as you need to and not be terribly disappointed if you don't achieve exactly what you intended at the date you wanted to.
Well, that's true, isn't it? Like, you have to have some flexibility. And I think, you know, Michael's found this great rapport with his advisor now, which he didn't have before. So he's starting to understand, hey, I can set goals and they can be moved because I'm at a different stage of life now.
And it sounds like he has financial capacity as well to achieve some of his goals. I mean, when you think about buying a property, you've got to think back a pension age at 67. If you want to be housing cost free, you've got to secure a mortgage at 37, right? And then if you want to save up for the deposit to get the mortgage, you've got to add on some years there. So you're talking about what could be a 40-year process. He's trying to condense that right down, and he can do so by things like coming up with a higher deposit, exceeding minimum repayments on the mortgage, and also looking for a cheaper kind of property as well, a unit, for example, instead of a house. So there are ways, even though it is a really long-term commitment, the property, there are ways to kind of shorten that process as well.
And Debbie, what do you think? I mean, they say that your home is probably the biggest asset most people have and super the second biggest. Should we flip that around? Should super be the bigger asset because it's more liquid and more diversified than a house? What's your thoughts?
I think it depends on the individual, really. But, you know, super it's amazing that everybody in Australia who works has access to super. And, you know, to take advantage of those tax concessions and really try and get as close to the concessional cap as you can in terms of contributing to super.
So what, you can put about, what, 24-25 grand in a year at 15% tax?
Yes.
What do you think? I mean, governments can change things, right? People do worry that governments will come in and change the rules on super. What's your thinking there?
You know, I think we have to trust in the system to some extent. And I think super was such an amazing social policy reform in Australia, bringing super in for all Australians. And, you know, it's a really important pillar in the system for the government, because if people don't have super, they end up relying on the age pension. So super is incredibly important from a policy point of view as well as from an individual point of view. So I would have confidence that we have this amazing world-leading system. I would have confidence that it's there for the long term and to take advantage of it.
Okay, well, I've got bricks and mortar super next to me. We're sorted, and more to the point, Climmy's sorted, and he is a good guy. He deserves every success. So it's been great working with him. Thank you both for joining me, Debbie and Eliza.